Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right?
Oh!
The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa,
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna
and we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Football is back, baby. This is Wacky Wednesday here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. I'm Adam Best, here for the third season of this show with my co-host, Sterling Holmes, and our wonderful producer, Richard. I think we're the good luck charm, right? Has to be us.
Third season for the three-peat. It's perfect, baby. It is perfect.
How are you feeling today?
I'm good, man. It's like Christmas Eve. This is awesome.
Yeah. You know, in like movies or TV shows, when lights from the heavens like shine down on you and you're like, oh, that's me right now. That's how excited I am. The summer's rough, but actual football games. And what we do here on Wacky Wednesday during the season, for those of you who don't know, is we have guests who cover the opposing team come in. We have a great series of guests, and we talk about this week's opponent. So we're going to do that. We're going to bring back some of your favorite segments. Today it is Hot Take Kingdom, the return of Hot Take Kingdom. We're going to have a really good time. You ready to get into it, Stuart?
Let's do it, baby.
Stuart, Jesus.
Yeah, what the hell was that? Eric?
I don't know. It's been a long week. So.
Gosh, I'm throwing hands with you, pal.
I don't blame you.
Guy.
Where did Stuart come from? I don't understand that. I don't understand.
Dude, it is on site.
I messed your name up, so I won't mess the name up of our guest. Let's go ahead and bring on our guest, Antonio Barbera from Pod Like a Raven. Antonio, you were great during the playoffs last season. We're thrilled to have you back.
Thank you guys very much for having me.
How's the offseason been? I know there's been a lot of changes.
It's been slow at times, scary at other times when we started to take a look at some issues maybe on the Ravens roster, but now most things I think are patched up, and very excited, looking forward to another season.
Well, we definitely have high expectations for such a great franchise, and also I have high expectations for the chat. Last time you guys were pretty rough, unnecessary roughness on Antonio. So please be friendly today. He's doing us the favor of coming on our show. With that said, we have 6 questions for you. Let's crack into that 6-pack. First up, the Ravens lost defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald in a league-high 15 players this offseason. Will this amount of turnover cause a slow start?
Yeah, it's certainly a significant loss of snaps that cannot be ignored. The coordinator loss is tough too, but until we see the season get underway, I think it'll be unclear how much has left the building in terms of scheme and play style. They promoted from within for the coordinator position with Zach Orr, a former Ravens linebacker, an assistant coach. So he has all the institutional knowledge. So you'd hope the turnover there would be marginal. And the organization is at least outwardly confident in a lot of the players replacing those departed free agents. They've praised first-round pick from this year's draft, cornerback Nate Wiggins. He should take the place of some of the rotational corners they had last year, like Rock Yassin and Ronald Darby. They really liked linebacker Trenton Simpson, a third-round pick from a year ago, to take over for Patrick Queen. They signed Eddie Jackson to take the third safety role from Geno Stone. Derrick Henry certainly is an upgrade from Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. My opinion is the biggest loss is going to be Jadeveon Clowney, just because they really haven't replaced him. They're just hoping for breakout years from Odafe Owe and David Ojabo. They're young, highly drafted edges who haven't quite hit, either because of performance or in Ojabo's case, injury. He's flashed when he's played, but he's missed a lot of games in multiple seasons. But look, you mentioned it at the top. This franchise is one of the most famous in the NFL for stability, turning over rosters, and remaining competitive. So a slow start, maybe. They play the Chiefs, they play the Cowboys, they play the Bills and the Bengals all early in the season. But I think they'll continue to develop the young players, and as the season turns to November and December, certainly hit their stride. As for this specific game, yes, I do think they'll start slow, just because John Harbaugh has rested most of his top starters through the preseason games for the last several years. And then week one has sort of looked like this tough, rusty, essentially preseason first half for the starters. That certainly happened last year when they played the Texans in week one. They eventually scored some points in the second half and late to make that score margin look a little bit better than it was for long stretches. Even the year before, they played at the Jets week one, and they struggled in the first half. I'm optimistic that with this season, the offensive coordinator, it's not his first season, so they should have a little bit more continuation, a little bit more progression than other seasons. But yes, I do anticipate some ugly 3-and-outs offensively, certainly early in this game.
Quick follow-up on Mike Macdonald and losing him and replacing him with Orr. So with Wink Martindale, he was like blitz crazy. And Mike Macdonald, correct me if I'm wrong, he was super creative and very smart and really knew how to dial things up, but more conservative on the blitz front. Where do you think Orr will fall in on that spectrum?
We haven't seen a lot of it, right? They've been extremely vanilla, as every team is, with the play calling in the preseason. I would think they are going to try to copy as much as possible, given the success that they had last year. They have a lot of the same core in terms of the roster defensively. But yeah, you mentioned it. McDonald's ability to get pressure with four, but just not know who those four players were going to be, was just the sort of an anomaly defensively that a lot of teams weren't able to duplicate, and the Ravens did it very, very successfully. I'm going to assume, or, isn't that great when you're getting pressure with four. So I think he will try to do that as best he can. But at the moment, a lot of questions as we get into week one of an NFL season.
With some of the stability, that is OC Todd Monken, last year it resulted in Baltimore having the league's lowest pass rate. Will Monken stick with that, or is he going to air it out a little bit more in year two?
The short answer to that is no. I think they'll add complexity, variations. They'll try to grow off last year's playbook. But look, they were lowest in pass rate because they were so high in run rate. They led the league in rushing attempts. They led the league in total rushing yards. But the bigger point here is that they ended the season fourth in the NFL in points per game. So they were very comfortable with what they were generating. Their lowest point total for a game all season was in the AFC Championship game, where their running backs only had 6 carries combined for the entire game. So if you go to visit Baltimore and you say 6 carries to someone, they will invite you in. They'll offer you a drink because, of course, they know what you're referring to, and they want to maybe try to make you feel better if you're a Ravens fan. The offense is surely going to evolve in a coordinator's second year, but I don't think there are going to be big shifts in philosophy, especially given their biggest free agent acquisition was Derrick Henry, right? So they want to be just as good as last season offensively, get to the same playoff game next year, have a little bit more patience in the run game, and have the guy in Henry that they think can deliver in that moment.
I've got a couple stats for you, and maybe this is just me galaxy braining this, but the Ravens were first in plays run with a lead last year, which I think explains why they ran so much. Of course, they want to run the ball, given that that's their makeup. But if you look at pass rate over expected, that was 11th. So when I see Derrick Henry added to the roster, of course they want to run with Derrick Henry. But the threat of Derrick Henry versus, say, a Gus Edwards, that's going to cause guys to stack the box. That's going to open things up for Lamar. So do you think that is part of the strategy here, is like, let's get Lamar better looks because of Derrick Henry?
Yeah, it's putting a dominant piece right next to, as close as possible to your 2-time MVP quarterback, and then watch defenses try to react to that. I think it's certainly going to help in the pass game as well. It's also, I think, going to help with Lamar Jackson's running. I mean, you have to sort of account for Henry when he's on the field. So the RPO stuff that they try to do with him, I think is really going to should be one of the keys to success for their offense all year.
Number 3, safety Kyle Hamilton has quickly become arguably the best player at his position. Is he ready for the big rematch with Travis Kelce?
I can't speak for Kyle Hamilton, but you know who isn't ready for more Travis Kelce is me. I think he was like 11 for 11 targets to catches in the AFC Championship game. So I don't need to see any more of Travis Kelce in my life. But jokes aside, I don't think Hamilton played poorly at all in that game. I think it was just 2 future Hall of Famers with multiple throws and catches where he literally could not play any better defense. I'm really just hoping we revert back to regular season 34-year-old Travis Kelce, where hopefully he's playing 90% because he wants to be fresh for the postseason. That's where I'm at with this particular player. I think Hamilton is ready. I'm sure the matchup is going to get featured on the broadcast, so it'll be a lot of fun to watch. I hope is my best answer. I hope that Hamilton is ready.
With wide receiver Zay Flowers, he had a little up and down rookie campaign, but he looked really good in the AFC Championship game, of course, until he got under L'Jarius Sneed's skin, and then Sneed had to do what he did. What do you make of Zay Flowers, and what is he going to look like this year?
Yeah, in Baltimore, we don't talk about that play much anymore. We've passed a certain month, so we don't talk. We're in the new season, guys. All right, so. No, but I think that a big season is coming for Zay Flowers, but relative to what the Ravens do on offense, I don't see a 1,500-yard season coming from any receiver in Baltimore, but Flowers certainly is poised to take a leap. They let Odell Beckham leave in free agency. They didn't really replace him in terms of a veteran presence, so there's confidence from the organization and obviously a bit more room for Flowers to be the primary option on more plays. They'll try to get him the ball in space. They'll do bubble screens, reverses, all that kind of stuff. Just because the talent, the burst, the elusiveness, that's all obviously there. I would say a 1,000-yard season is sort of expected if he's able to stay healthy as a second-year player. Baltimore fans and local media know that the Ravens have kind of been cursed with wide receivers. They have never drafted a receiver who made a Pro Bowl in franchise history. This is a young franchise, right? It's only 28 years old, but still, they've had a few receivers who went to the Pro Bowl as returners, but none have actually gone as receivers. So if Zay Flowers can break out and he has, he does like a 1,200-yard, 8-touchdown type of season, hopefully that would break that streak.
Yeah, and I think I saw that they've only had one 1,000-yard receiver with Lamar as a starter. And I think part of that was the old offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, really liking to run the ball. But it's also personnel. And I mean, we love Marquise Brown here in Kansas City, but Zay Flowers is probably the most dynamic talent they've ever had at wide receiver during this regime. Would you agree with that?
Certainly. I think Hollywood Brown I believe he is the receiver who had a 1,000-yard season. So certainly we enjoyed him when
1,009. He just crested the number.
One of those 3rd and 9s that he needed to get, and it ended up working out for him. I do think Flowers can be that guy. He got very close to that last season. I think he was maybe around 900. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I assume he's going to have a few more targets. I think he's going to get some of those Beckham targets that he wouldn't get last season. And the Ravens drafted a receiver in the middle rounds, Devontae Walker out of North Carolina, but he really struggled in camp. He had some injuries. He didn't really have much of a presence in the preseason games. So I don't think he's taken the step in the direction they wanted in terms of a reserve receiver. So Zay Flowers is going to get touches. He's going to be out there.
Question number 5. The Ravens have 3 new offensive line starters. Will that lack of continuity allow Chiefs defensive tackle Chris Jones to wreck their game plan?
I'll give you another short answer here. Yes. The team's biggest concern all summer, when I was talking in the intro about some of the issues that, the fears that we've had this summer, it's all been about the offensive line. They could be starting 2 quote unquote rookies. I mean, Roger Rosengarten is a true rookie. Andrew Voorhees, this is technically his second year, but he missed all of last season with an injury. So you could call those two rookies. And also a third young lineman in Daniel Falele. He's in his third year, and he's moving from tackle to guard. So there's a lot going on. They let guard John Simpson walk in free agency. But what's interesting is they traded their right tackle Morgan Moses to the Jets when he still had a year left on his deal at a pretty competitive price for 1 year left on the deal. They could have kept Moses and only had to deal with filling those two spots, obviously. So they committed to getting younger across the line. But obviously these new faces are not proven players yet, which is the fear. John Harbaugh has been quintessential Harbaugh, saying the coaching staff, they already know who the 5 guys are who will start. They're very happy with it, but they're telling nobody who those players will be until game time, which is too perfect. The glass half full scenario is that Voorhees was a second round graded lineman in 2023. He gets hurt at the combine, and the Ravens end up getting him with a 7th round pick. Maybe he's a second round talent and he slots right into left guard. Rosengarten is a second round pick from this past draft. Maybe he's a plug and play starter at right tackle. My take is that if it is not obvious who is starting by now, that's probably a bad sign against a premier interior lineman.
That's a good call. I will say, if you're a Chiefs fan, you can say Trey Smith was a second-round talent that fell because of medicals. Their left tackle this year is drafted in the second round, but I have a lot of concerns about the Baltimore offensive line. All right. Give us your offensive and defensive sleeper picks for the Ravens. A couple guys that you think maybe Chiefs fans are sleeping on, and we do have to get that score prediction.
So I'll start on the defensive side with the sleeper because that one's easy. It's linebacker Trenton Simpson. He was a rookie last year playing behind Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. Those two guys basically never came off the field, so he didn't play a lot, at least he played some special teams. Then in week 18, they rested their starters against Pittsburgh. He started his first game, and he looked great. This preseason, he's basically been the only starter on defense to play. And he's played a lot because they want to give him reps, and he has flashed constantly. He has speed to the sidelines. He is a heavy hitter in the hole. He was breaking up passes downfield. He had an interception. Yes, it's preseason, but he was dominating, not just getting reps, which is, I think, exactly what you'd want a starter to be doing in these games. So a lot of people I know in Baltimore are excited to see him step into that spot. On offense, it's tough because the receivers are similar from last season. Derrick Henry isn't exactly hiding. I don't think anybody's sleeping on Derrick Henry doing good things. So I'll say this mostly as a joke, and maybe you guys can feel the anxiety that I'm feeling about the offensive line. It's Patrick McCary. He is basically their 6th offensive lineman every season. They pay him like a 5th offensive lineman, and they love him because he can play and has played all 5 spots along the offensive line. So he is my sleeper because he may be needed to provide stability along their line. He may be a 6th lineman they use. He may even start if the coaching staff is wary of starting too many inexperienced guys up front. So I'm very curious to see. He could literally be starting on the bench. He could be starting at right guard. He could be starting at right tackle. We will see. But he needs to play well, I think, for the Ravens to have success along the offensive line. As for a score prediction, this one's tough. If this was week 2, I would probably just say, you know what? I think I like the Chiefs in this game. There are some issues that the Ravens have. I haven't seen enough from the offensive line. I don't know what the defensive coordinator is going to do. A lot of new names, but the week 1 stuff for the Ravens is significant. Some facts about them, some stats about them in week 1. John Harbaugh in his career is 12-4 in week 1, and he's 12-4 against the spread. The margins of those week 1s in the Lamar Jackson era have been, they won by 16, they won by 15, they lost an overtime game to the Raiders, they won by 32, they won by 49, 40, and 44. Those have been the margins of his week 1 games. They are prepared. The John Harbaugh Ravens are prepared for the week 1 opponent when they have a lot of time, and obviously they know who that first opponent is, and they can prep for that game more than most other regular season games. Other aspects, Lamar Jackson as an underdog is very, very good. He is 12-1-1 against the spread in his career as a regular season underdog. Some interesting stats. With all that, I think I'm going to take the Chiefs. I don't know if you guys handle gambling on this show at all, but I could very much see a Chiefs win, but the Ravens cover that +3, where it's just kind of a close game back and forth. And the Chiefs, and they get the ball last and they kick a field goal late. I could see that happening. I think it'll be close just because of how strong the Ravens are week 1. But in Kansas City, we're raising the banner, all that stuff you guys do when you win Super Bowls, that kind of stuff. I think the crowd will be loud, and I need to see it from the Ravens offensive line. Yeah, really, I think that'll end up being their main issue in terms of moving the ball.
That said, I think the Ravens have been thinking about this game all offseason long. So from a motivational standpoint, you have them just chomping at the bit to get a piece of another shot at Kansas City. And for the Chiefs, I'm not saying this game doesn't matter, but the Chiefs are kind of in just get to the postseason mode. So I could see, the motivational edge perhaps on Baltimore's side.
I go back and forth with that. The mood from the Ravens has been, this is not a rematch because that happens in the postseason. This is a regular season game, and these are not, those two games are not equal, and I certainly agree with that. But when that's the last game that they played, and then it's the same opponent with the first game that they play, I feel like that has to be in the back of their minds a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Antonio, thanks for joining us. You can find him at Pod Like a Raven. Go ahead and check that show out. And on Twitter, he's Antonio_Barbera. Again, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Good luck, guys.
Good luck.
They're going to need it. No, man, I'll tell you what, this game is one of those ones where I've gone back and forth with. I think the thing I like the most is actually the over in this game. The Ravens start off hot. The Chiefs offense, I think, is back with a vengeance. I think you're looking at a top 3 offense. I have some concerns early on in the season with the Chiefs secondary, as well as just a lot of the pieces have been injured, banged up, and now they're finally back. Spags talked about that, how much rust will be there defensively for Kansas City. I like the over more than anything, which, quite frankly, seemingly puts me on an island because all these smart analytical minds have ripped the under. But I'm going with my heart here, not my dome.
Yeah, last season in week 1, there wasn't a lot of scoring. I think there was a game between Miami and the Chargers where nobody played defense, 36-34, something like that. But a lot of the games didn't clear the over. And of course, the last game between these two teams, I think, was 17-10. So we'll get to our final score predictions later, but I don't think I'm on the over island with you this time, bud. Stuart.
Yeah. Don't you bleep and dare. I'm going to kick your ass.
I'm embarrassed.
When I see you, Best, I know you have bad knees. I'm gonna take you out, pal. Yeah, I said it. We're not playing. Homie, don't play that. But what I do play, we got a giveaway, baby. We got a giveaway. Make sure you go to Patrick Allen's Twitter account. That's at @RPatrickAllen. I assume everyone who's listening follows him. But go to @PatrickAllen. Giveaway time. 2 tickets for Saturday's game between U.S. men's national team and Canada right here in Kansas City at Children's Mercy Park. There's going to be great tickets. All you have to do is retweet Patrick's tweet. You got to make sure you follow him because he's going to DM the winner. The winner will be notified on Friday. I will be there, and I will be rocking all America clothes. It's going to be so strong. So make sure you go to Patrick's Twitter account. You retweet that. And let's watch Team USA beat the bleep out of Canada. Send them packing back to their moose. Their Mises.
Yep, our polite neighbors are going to get it. You ready for the return of Hot Take Kingdom? It's been a while.
Oh, yeah, baby.
It's been a while.
Oh, yeah. By the way, the link is in the chat and the description as well to sign up and try and get those tickets. Again, gonna be a lot of fun. I'm gonna be there, and we're gonna, if you see me, we'll drink some beers. We'll crush some brewskis together for USA, for America.
It's your patriotic duty. So this week's Hot Take Kingdom is running back Samaje Perine is the top Chiefs fantasy value by far. Welcome to the kingdom. I take it you're a little too tired to do the little bounce, the little dance today.
This is hour 7 of radio and podcast today. It's been a lot.
Yikes.
And this is the worst take I think I've seen. So I'm excited to get into this with you. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Well, it's not called Mild Take Kingdom. It's called Hot Take Kingdom. And for new listeners, this is one of our oldest segments. I throw out a hot take and build a case, and then Sterling either enters the kingdom with me or rejects the argument, which he frequently does. But sometimes he comes in and enjoys some barbecue in there. So let's get into it. Last year, Samaje Perine was first, not second, third, fourth, fifth, first among running backs in yards per route run, even better than Breece Hall. He was also tied for first in yards after contact per reception. So different kind of profile. He's more of a tank to Jerick McKinnon's Lamborghini, but equally efficient, both uber efficient receiving backs. He had a PFF receiving grade of 81. That's third behind only Breece Hall and CMC. So better than even Alvin Kamara, who had like a billion catches last year, better than even the super efficient Devon Achane. So an elite company there. And he's no slouch as a rusher either. His average PFF grade over the past 4 years as a rusher was 74.1. That would have ranked him 26 last year, which would have been Alvin Kamara. So, he's pretty good on that front too, if he needs to take over for Isaiah Pacheco if he misses a game or two. He's durable as hell. He's played at least 16 games in 4 consecutive seasons. So he's just a durable tank of a receiving back. So now let's look at the rest of the team. Remember, this is from a fantasy standpoint. So Holmes isn't a fantasy value due to not getting design runs. He just doesn't run as much as Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts. So it's almost impossible for him to rack up fantasy points when he's getting drafted in that same range. Now, in real life, the gap between him and those guys is significant, but we're talking fantasy here. Next up, Travis Kelce. I don't think he's a value. He's still going very high. He's going to have a hell of a season, but I expect him to play reduced snaps. They're going to do some load maintenance with him. I expect, this team is very much in get to the playoffs mode. I just don't think he's going to play as many snaps or see as many targets as he usually gets. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what we're hearing. Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown is already hurt, and we love Hollywood Brown. I think he's going to add a stretch element to this offense that MVS failed to last year, but his yards per route run have dropped each season in the NFL, and that does have me a little bit worried. Now, Isaiah Pacheco, I think is going to be awesome this year, but he's like going in the second round of drafts. So if you look at the splits last year with Jerick McKinnon and without, I think this is just interesting, not just fantasy, overall football. In the games without Jerick McKinnon, 21.8 PPR points per game. That is elite numbers there. In games with McKinnon, 12.7 PPR points. So just a radically different role. And like I said, he's going early. He's going like the second round. I think the team's going to lighten the load. He's gotten injured in both of the past 2 seasons. He's had some surgeries. We want him to make it to the wintertime, to the postseason. And they're going to have to, they can't have him taking 300 carries plus a ton of targets. Next up, Xavier Worthy. He's a rookie in an Andy Reid system. We saw it last year with Rashee Rice, who was awesome. And we were clamoring for him to get a higher snap share the entire first half of the season. It just wasn't happening because Andy wants these guys to be very comfortable in all 3 roles and know the playbook like the back of their hand. So I do think, even though Xavier Worthy is probably ahead of where Rashee Rice was last year, and certainly ahead of Sky Moore 2 years ago, I don't think he's going to come out guns a-blazing. I just don't. So that leads us to Rashee Rice. I think this is the best counter argument here. I think he's going to have a huge season. He's probably not going to get suspended. I guess there's always that worry, but it just doesn't look like he's going to get suspended until 2025. Do you kind of agree with that being the case at this point?
Yeah, I was muted. Yes, I think Rashee Rice has just a massive year. I think he might be the fantasy darling. I think Hollywood Brown, where he is going at this point, is a better value than Samaje Perine. Hollywood Brown, with the injuries going late in drafts. You can finish your thoughts here unless you're done.
I'm not done. I just wanted to pick your brain on Rashee Rice because I think he has the best argument, but he's going in the 3rd round. And I think earlier in the year, before he was getting the suspension talk, he was like going 24th overall and on Underdog in best ball. His ADP was just, rising. So I think he's a little bit of a value because the suspension fears sort of depressed his value. But that's the other guy in the conversation for me. And then lastly, the Carson Steele hype, I think it's depressing the Perine excitement. And of course, we're all excited about Carson Steele. Maybe he gets some goal line carries. I definitely think he's going to be part of the equation. But I really think Perine is the receiving back for this team. He's the guy that's going to get the bulk of the pass protection work. He's excellent as a blocker. He's going to get the bulk of the receptions coming out of the backfield. And if Pacheco needs a rest or he needs a game off, this is going to be the guy. So this is mostly a fun way to celebrate Veach's real life signing of Perine, which I just think was an excellent fit and an inspired signing. But if he's sitting on your fantasy waivers or you have him as a late round dart throw in your draft, I just think at his price, he could be, if something were to happen to Pacheco, he could be a league winner. I really think that. So if you don't have him, go get him. It's always fun to have Chiefs on your team. I think for the price, he's going to be the most fun guy. And again, if Pacheco misses time, knock on wood, this is a league winner. Sterling, you've heard my case. Are you coming into the castle? Or are you staying outside its walls?
First, I want to give a shout out to D. Callie. Appreciate the super chat. Flying down from Toronto tomorrow for the game. Tone down the Canadian slander. We'll be walking the lot tomorrow, making friends. Go Chiefs. Hey, I'm sorry. That's just the soccer game talking. That's just the USA that was talking for a moment. When you're here for Kansas City Chiefs football, we welcome you with arms wide open. Okay. I thank you. Hope you have a great time. You should have a blast. That'll be a lot of fun. Everyone, welcome our Canadian friends. Okay. We appreciate you. We really do. All right. That is just a horrendous take, Best. There's a reason why he's rostered in 4.7% of leagues. Even with, I think, the great real life value of Samaje Perine. I love the move. Phenomenal Brett Veach move. Great move. Awesome. Zero fantasy value. I think even if Pacheco gets injured, Samaje Perine isn't going to take over. I don't think Samaje Perine's going to be the guy. They'll piecemeal it together. He is a good third down back, a really good third down back. If you are in a 18-person league, okay, I understand. Draft you some Samaje Perine. If you're in a 10-man or a 12-man, you don't need Samaje Perine anywhere near your roster. Hollywood Brown is the best value, I think. I'm in a 10-man league. I got him at like the third to last round, like round 13 or 14 because of the injury. That makes a lot of sense. I see, honestly, hardly any value for Samaje Perine in fantasy football. Great real-life value, but he's not going to be a guy in the red zone you're throwing in there, I don't think, very often. He's not going to be a touchdown vulture. I don't see where he really fits in fantasy football-wise.
Okay. Well, we're going to travel back in time to when journeymen who actually were less accomplished than Perine, like Damian Williams, like Jerick McKinnon 2 years ago, were league winners down the stretch run in fantasy. So I absolutely think Carson Steele is not going to be a lead back. CEH, I hope everything's all right with him. I really, really, really do. He's not going to be a lead back. I don't know who's out there who could take over this situation except for Samaje Perine. And I just think this team, they play with pace. They throw in neutral game script. They throw more than anybody. And we've seen Jerick McKinnon get a lot of touchdowns out of the backfield from Patrick Mahomes. I just think Samaje Perine, now, especially if you're in a deep league, if you're playing with 4 of your buddies, probably not. But I think Samaje Perine is going to be a fantastic player. Sounds like you're not coming into the kingdom, but we do agree that when it comes to the role of third down back for the Chiefs, that the fit is there. It's like a glove.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, it's a great fit. Great pickup by Brett Veach. Great real life value. 0 fantasy football value. I don't know how you could possibly think if you have him on your, again, Pacheco
How
gets
could you
injured.
say that?
Okay, maybe, but like Tyler Algier makes way more sense as a handcuff to Bijan Robinson, who's clearly the guy.
Well, their offense isn't anywhere near as prolific as the Chiefs. And we saw Jerick McKinnon do this 2 years ago. Now, Jerick McKinnon wasn't healthy last year. So I think expectations for Pacheco and how many touches he's going to get, they might be a little bit out of whack. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time. I really do. And I think we're going to see quite a bit of Carson Steele too, because, and this is the thing kind of with all the Chiefs, they care about winning. They care about winning. These guys are not about their numbers. They don't think they're even about awards at this point. They want that third ring. So hanging my hat on any of these guys at cost, I don't know. I think they might win 14 games this year, but they don't care about fantasy football, nor should they.
Yeah. Again, I just disagree. I think it's a great real pickup by Brett Veach. Don't see the value.
Fun to talk about, though. It's a great late offseason signing, very unexpected. And I think all that panic about RB2, when we're sitting there like, who the hell is going to back up Pacheco? We can exhale now. We can finally exhale. Well, let's wrap things up with the outro. We're going to do this each week. We're going to give you our final score predictions. So, Sterling, what do you think?
This is tough. I've gone back and forth with this. Man, I've gone back and forth. I'll say Chiefs 30, Ravens 26. I think it's a high scoring game. Again, typically I always say week 1, week 2. I love the unders. I just have concerns with the Chiefs cornerback room outside of McDuffie. I have concerns with them not playing a lot, just a lot of them being injured. And now they have to try and come in game action against one of the best teams in the NFL, try and knock that rust off. I think the Chiefs offense, again, they take a massive step forward this year. I'm going Chiefs 30, Ravens 26.
The outcome is the same. The score is different for me. I have Chiefs 23, Ravens 16. I think these teams are going to get some offense rolling, but they're going to be a little rusty, which means not as many conversions, not as many red zone conversions. They both have prolific kickers. I think there's going to be a lot of field goals. Again, 23-16. I think the Chiefs are going to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens came in here and gave them everything they could handle. They're going to be very motivated. And like we said earlier, an extremely well-run organization. If we're talking about the best 5 run organizations in the league over the past 20 years, I think they undeniably have to make that list.
Yeah.
Another new feature we're doing on Thursdays, Patrick and I, we have a shared affinity for movies. So we often talk about movies at the end of the show. Sterling and I, he has musical talent. I do not, but we both share a love for music. So what we're going to do is a quick segment called What's Spinning. Sterling, what are you listening to right now?
Rush, and specifically the album Hemispheres.
Nice.
4 songs on the album, little tight one, but obviously the trees, circumstances, and Le Via Stringiato. I don't even know how to pronounce the song. It's probably my favorite Rush song. Last song on the album. It's just 10 minutes of kick assness, if you will. Just I love Rush, and Hemispheres I think is just great.
I love whether it's them or Queen or Led Zeppelin. I love those long epics. Love those long epics. For me, I'm super into vinyl right now. I'm an addict, not just of Arrowhead, but of also vinyl. And this is what I'm digging right now. 3 Feet High and Rising, De La Soul. It is my favorite rap album ever. It is 35 years old, so I'm dating myself here, but it's the album that really made me fall in love with rap. And it's actually kind of family friendly a little bit. I mean, I don't know if I played around a 7 or 8 year old, but it's got like a happy vibe to it. So if you want to be in a good mood, check this album out. It's a lot of fun. But that's all we've got for you guys. Please consider, if you want to do us one favor, head over to Spotify or Apple and leave us a 5-star review. And if you do that and drop a question in with your review, Patrick will answer it on the Thursday show, which I will be on some this season. Very excited to hang with my old buddy there. Join us live next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central, right here on the Arrowhead Addict channel. Until then, go Chiefs.